They thought I was just an old fool who'd lost his mind. But when they set my fields on fire, they didn't know they were burning their inheritance. My name's Walter Hayes, and I'm telling you this story not because I want your pity. Hell, I don't need it where I am now, but because somebody out there needs to hear what greed does to a family, what it does to sons who forget where they came from. I built this farm with my own 2 hands. Started when I was 17 years old, with nothing but a broken-down tractor my daddy left me, and 40 acres of land so stubborn folks said nothing would ever grow there. But I made it grow. Spent 47 years turning that dirt into something that mattered, something that could feed a family, my family. Every morning, I'd wake up before the sun even thought about rising. I'd walk those fields in the dark, just listening. You can hear a farm talking if you know how to listen. The wind through the corn, the way the soil crunches under your boots, the birds starting their songs when dawn breaks. That sound, that was my church. That was my prayer. I married young. Sarah was her name. Sarah Mackenzie, before she became Sarah Hayes. Lord, she was beautiful. Not in that fancy magazine way, but in the way that matters. Strong hands, kind eyes. She could work a field right alongside me and never complain, not once. We had 3 boys together, Michael, David, and Jonathan, and 1 daughter, Emma, who came along 10 years after the last boy, like a little surprise from heaven. Sarah passed 6 years ago. Cancer took her quicker than seen fair. But before she went, she made me promise something. She grabbed my hand. It was so thin by then, like holding the bird. And she said, "Walt, you make sure that farm goes to someone who'll love it like we did, not someone who'll just see dollar signs." I promised her. Held her hand and promised. Figured at the time she was just talking crazy from the pain meds, but looking back, I think she knew. Mothers always know. The boys grew up strong. I taught them everything. How to read the weather, when to plant, how to fix an engine with nothing but wire and stubbornness. Michael was the oldest, and he was always the smartest. Too smart, maybe. He went off to business school. Came back talking about maximizing assets and property value appreciation, words that didn't mean a damn thing when you got dirt under your fingernails. David, he was the middle one, always wanted more than what he had. Nice truck, nice clothes, nice everything. Married a woman from the city who looked at our farm like it was something she'd scraped off her shoe. Jonathan was the youngest of the boys, and he was the one that hurt the most. See, I thought he got it. He'd stayed on the farm longer than the others, worked beside me through his 20s. But somewhere along the line, his brothers got in his head, started talking to him about all the things he was missing out on. And then there was Emma. Sweet Emma. She never left. After college, where she studied agriculture of all things, she came right back. Lived in the old cottage on the east side of the property, the one Sarah and I started in. She'd come by every morning with coffee, help me with whatever needed doing. Never asked for nothing, never expected nothing. Just loved the place. Loved it the way Sarah and I had. The trouble started about 2 years before I died. Michael came by one Sunday with papers, spread them out on my kitchen table like he was doing me some kind of favor. "Dad, we need to talk about succession planning." Succession planning. Like I was some kind of corporation. "The land's worth a lot now," he continued, not even looking at me. "Developers are expanding out this way. We could sell the back 40, set you up in a nice assisted living place. You wouldn't have to worry about anything." I just stared at him.
This was my son, my own blood, and he was talking about carving up my life's work like a Sunday roast. I'm not going anywhere, and this farm ain't for sale. He got this look on his face, this frustrated, impatient look, like I was a child who didn't understand what was good for him. That's when I started paying attention. Really paying attention. David came by the next week with the same song and dance. "Dad, be reasonable. You're 78 years old. This is too much for you. Let us help you." But what he meant was, let us help ourselves. Jonathan was the worst, because he pretended to care. He'd sit with me on the porch, drink my whiskey, and then slip in little comments. "Must be lonely out here, Pop. Must be hard doing this all alone. We just worry about you, that's all." But I wasn't alone. Emma was there almost every day. She was the one who noticed when the irrigation system needed fixing. She was the one who helped me bring in the harvest. She was the one who sat with me on quiet evenings and didn't say nothing. Just sat there watching the sun go down over the fields like it was the most beautiful thing in the world. Because it was. One night, I'll never forget this. I was in the barn. It was late, maybe 10 o'clock, and I was checking on one of the horses that had been acting poorly. I heard voices coming from near the house. Michael, David, and Jonathan, standing by their cars, talking low like they didn't want to be heard. But sound carries on a farm, especially at night. "He's being stubborn," Michael said. "We need to get power of attorney before he gives everything away to some charity or something crazy." David laughed. It was a cold sound. "Her worst leaves it all to Emma. Can you imagine? She tried to keep this place running like it's still 1975. "Soon as the old man's gone," Jonathan said. And that's the part that stuck in my chest like a knife. "We sell it all, split it 3 ways. I'm done waiting for my inheritance." My inheritance. Like I was already dead. Like my life's work was just money sitting in a bank account with their names on it. I stood there in that barn, 78 years old, and I felt something I'd never felt before. Not when we lost crops to drought. Not when Sarah died. Not ever. I felt alone in a way that makes you question everything. But I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just thought. It took me about a week to figure out what I was going to do. I went into town, to old Henry Richardson's office. Henry had been my lawyer for 30 years, drew up Sarah's will when she passed. Good man. Honest. "Henry," I said, sitting across from his big oak desk, "I need to change my will, but I need you to do something unusual." "How unusual?" "I want to leave everything. The land, the house, the equipment, all of it, to whoever's taking care of the Scarecrow in the north field." He blinked. "The Scarecrow?" "That's right. Everything goes to whoever's been maintaining it, keeping it standing, making sure it's doing its job. The will itself, I want you to seal it in a waterproof tube and place it inside that Scarecrow, right in the center post." Henry looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "Walter, I'm dead serious, Henry. That Scarecrow's been watching over my best field for 20 years. Sarah made it with Emma when she was just a little girl. Anyone who cares about that farm will care about that Scarecrow. Anyone who doesn't, well, they'll show themselves." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "When do you want to do this?" "Tonight." We did it after dark. Henry and we went out to that north field with flashlights and tools, took the Scarecrow down carefully, hollowed out the center post just enough, and sealed that will inside a metal tube. Put it back up like nothing had happened. That Scarecrow looked different to me after that. Like it was keeping a secret. Like it was waiting. I didn't tell anybody. Not even Emma. I just watched. And what I saw broke my heart in slow motion. The boys started coming around more often, but not to visit. They were measuring,
looking at property lines, taking pictures. Michael brought a real estate agent by once, introduced her as a family friend. They started bringing papers for me to sign, documents they said were just to make things easier when I passed. I refused every time. Told him the same thing. This farm stays whole or it don't get passed on at all. That made them angry. David stopped coming by altogether. Michael would snap at me when I didn't do what he wanted. And Jonathan, he started treating me like I was senile, talking slow, explaining things I'd understood for 70 years like I was a child. But Emma kept coming by every morning, kept bringing coffee. And every few weeks, I'd watch her walk out to that north field and fix up the Scarecrow if the wind had knocked it sideways. She'd straighten its arms, adjust its hat, make sure it was standing proud. She never knew I was watching. She just did it because it needed doing. That's how you know who really loves something. They take care of it when nobody's watching. The end came on a Tuesday in October. The boys showed up together, all three of them. They had more papers. This time, they weren't asking. "Dad, you need to sign these," Michael said, putting them down in front of me. "We've talked to a lawyer. You're not competent to make decisions anymore." I looked at those papers. They were trying to get me declared mentally unfit. They were trying to take everything while I was still breathing. I stood up. I was shaken from age, from anger, from grief, all mixed together. "Get off my land," I said quietly. "Dad," Jonathan started, "get off my land." They looked at each other, and then Michael said something I'll hear until the end of time. "Fine. You want to be a stubborn old fool? You want to rot out here alone? Then rot." They left. That night I sat on my porch like I did every night. I watched the sun go down. I thought about Sarah. I thought about the promise I made her. And then I smelled smoke. The north field was burning. My best field, the one Sarah loved most. I watched orange flames climb into the night sky, eating 40 years of work. I could see figures in the distance, 3 of them, watching, making sure it burned good. They'd set my field on fire. My own sons had set my life's work on fire. I didn't call the fire department. I just watched it burn. Watched that Scarecrow stand there in the middle of it all like a guardian angel in flames. The fire didn't reach it. The wind was blowing south that night. But I watched it standing there, surrounded by destruction, still keeping watch. I died 2 weeks later. Heart attack, the doctor said. But I think it was just time. I'd done what I needed to do. Here's what happened after.
Henry called the boys and Emma in for the reading of the will. They all showed up. Michael in his expensive suit, David looking impatient, Jonathan pretending to be sad, and Emma wearing one of Sarah's old sweaters, her eyes red from crying. Henry read the will, left everything to whoever had been maintaining the Scarecrow in the north field. The boys looked confused. "That old thing? Dad must have been senile. It burned down in that wildfire. There's nothing left." But Emma spoke up, quiet-like. "The Scarecrow didn't burn. I checked on it after the fire. It was standing right where it always stood." Henry smiled. "Then maybe you should go check on it now." They all drove out there, all 4 of them, and Emma, she walked right up to that Scarecrow, the same one she'd been taking care of for years without knowing why it mattered, and she saw the metal tube sticking out of the burnt post. She opened it, read the will, and she cried. Michael started yelling, David too. Jonathan just stood there, looking at the ashes of the field they'd burned, the field that had been their inheritance, the field they'd destroyed in anger. "This is fraud," Michael said. "We'll contest it." But Henry had thought of that. There's a clause, he said. Your father specified that if anyone could be proven to have damaged the farm before his death, they'd be excluded entirely. There are witnesses who saw you three at the property the night of the fire. Security cameras on the neighboring farm caught your vehicles. They had nothing. They got nothing. Emma got everything. And you know what she did? She rebuilt that field, planted it the next spring, kept the farm running just like Sarah and I had. She put the Scarecrow back up in the same spot, built it a new body, but kept the old post with the metal tube still inside it. Said it was a reminder that love ain't about what you can take. It's about what you give when nobody's watching. I spent my whole life building something that mattered. Turned out, the only thing that really mattered was who cared for it the same way I did. Not because they wanted something from it, but because they loved it. My sons thought they could burn their way to riches. All they got was ashes. But Emma got the sunrise over those fields every morning, got the sound of the wind through the corn, got the land speaking its truth to someone who knew how to listen. That's the real inheritance. Not money, not property, but knowing what's worth keeping, and keeping it alive. Be honest. If your own blood betrayed you for money, would you still believe in family? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know what you'd do. And if this story hits you even a little, don't just scroll. Hit that like button and subscribe, because every story here isn't just a story. It's a reflection of someone's truth, maybe even yours.